We all see those gymnastics ring specialists do the Maltese, iron cross, planche, and other advanced movements, and we just see how extremely buff and ripped they are. So should bodybuilders try and emulate this? The answer to me is an emphatic no. First of all, bodybuilding is focused on muscular development and not skill acquisition. Because they're heavier and they'll have more muscle in like their legs and whatnot, they will not be able to perform these movements as easily. They would have to sacrifice mass in their legs, for example, to be able to do a lot of these movements. That's why calisthenics athletes and gymnasts, they don't have very big legs. These movements also put undue stress on your stabilizer muscles. Secondly, it is very difficult to progress past the basics. You don't just need basic strength to go into the Maltese, you need full body control. And bodybuilders, they don't train this way. And third, on a similar note, it has very, very poor stimulus to fatigue ratio. The isometric holds are very stressful on your body, but isometrics aren't as muscularly inducive as range of motion movements. The gymnasts are mainly ripped because they've been training for 4 hours a day since essentially birth. However, before you click off, I will say that doing the basic movements, the basic calisthenics movements on rings could and potentially is beneficial. Since those movements are more focused, they don't require as much skill acquisition. These movements are also arguably better for your joints. Do push-ups on the rings, and after a while, you'll see that the push-ups actually feel better on the rings than they do on the ground. So if you just want to mix things up, have fun, and challenge yourself in a new way, then I would recommend using rings. I talked before about how they exert the stabilizer muscles a lot, but the basic movements I believe will work on your stabilizer muscles as well, but to like a sort of sweet spot degree where it's not overly taxing on the stabilizer muscles, and it also actually helps your stabilizer muscles at the same time. And then once you do cycle back into regular weight training, since your stabilizer muscles are stronger, you might be less prone to injury. It's similar to how powerlifters use bamboo bars to help with their stabilizer muscles. Another benefit for bodybuilders is that it helps with the full range of motion. Very few people are actually training their chest, for example, through a full range of motion. The barbell bench press and even the dumbbell bench press, which people applaud for having a more full range of motion, oftentimes it does stop at your chest, especially if you're using a lot of weight. Oftentimes the chest still stops it. Oftentimes the mass on your chest will stop it from reaching full depth. The only exercise that really goes to full range of motion is the cable crossover or the cable fly. But with the rings, you can go all the way down. And same with the pull-ups, you can do, I talked about my front lever video before, you can do a full front lever on the rings. Whereas if you're on a bar or if you're, doing something else, that you won't be able to have the full range of motion since it'll be stopped by, the bar actually hitting you. Another thing is that since your scapula is restricted when doing a bench press, your shoulders are going to be restricted as well. But with push-ups, your scapula isn't restricted, so you can go all the way down and all the way up for a full range of motion. And on that note, there's a much wider variety of angles that you can use for gymnastics rings. It isn't just vertical or horizontal or like maybe an incline in between there. You can go from like 0 degrees to 1 degree to 2 degrees, 5 degrees to 30 degrees, all the way up. And who knows, there may be some untapped gains with these intermediary degrees that you're missing out on when you just use a regular bench. And finally, the last benefit that I see, which I think is probably the best benefit, is that it always constantly engages your core in all the movements. Like I said before, due to the instability, it works on your stabilizer muscles a lot. And what is like the #1 stabilizer muscle now? It is your core. Think of the tricep extension, for example, on the rings. You're going to be in a long plank for basically the whole time. So to summarize, I think that if your goal is hypertrophy, getting to the super advanced movements probably isn't worth it, probably shouldn't be doing that. But if you just want to do the basic movements, I think it is a good supporting tool that you can use in your program that you can periodize on and off for maximum gains. With that being said, I'll catch you on the next video. All right, peace.